Yes, people. Welcome back to Tech Byte Lex. Today we are going to be looking at how to install vCenter 7, upgrading it to vCenter 8, and all this will be happening on VMware Workstation. So stick around and let me show you how to do this. You don't want to miss this one. This will be a banger. Okay, so a quick look at the requirements shows what we will need to get the vCenter installed. We need, well, of course, hardware, RAM, CPU. We need storage, the network. We need an ESXi host because the VCSA is an appliance. We need to have a host first before we can install it. Actually, when working with VMware Workstation, it's compatible with VCSA, the vCenter appliance. We have two ways we can install vCenter appliance, and I'm going to show you both ways and the way that I prefer. Let's say we need NTP. We don't necessarily need that. We just need to make sure a physical clock on the machine is synced up with the virtual machine. FUAN, we have an Active Directory, so we have DNS running, so it should be good. Okay, a quick look at the network. In the previous video that we did, building a home lab part 2, we did build out our network environment a bit more. We added a domain controller and we joined the two workstations to the domain. We also wanted to have a DHCP server, but we said we would do that in the next video, which is Active Directory part 2. Right now, we are going to enhance the network a bit and skip ahead. Introduce an ESX server, introduce the VSA server. We want to also add a storage server, the DHCP server. I think we're going to skip that for now. And we need a FTP server as well. Also, as you can tell in the diagram here, I have an admin management workstation that I'm going to use to connect to different servers, enable to configure and administer. For example, I'm going to be connecting to the ESX host, the VCSA servers, and so on with this admin box. Okay, as you can see, our VMware workstation up and running, and we are ready to set up our VCSA appliance. First things first, let me just remind you what we have going on here. So I have my admin management server. This is a Win 10 server, and this was newly built because I'm gonna use this to manage and configure other servers in the environment. For example, ESX host. I'm gonna be connecting to this ESX host using this management box. The VCSA appliance, I'm going to be using this box just to do remote connections to other servers. So this will be my main management workstation, or admin box if you want to call it that. Next we have our DC1. We already know our Active Directory. We set this up in the last video. Tech Bytes at home, our storage server. This will be our central hub that's going to provide storage, ESXi host in the vCenter appliance, creating data stores, and we can use this to be like for shared disk and so on, right? And this will be running on this box, this storage server one. So I'll show you that when we get there. ESX1, this will be the hypervisor that will host the VCSA appliance. Remember, the VCSA appliance is a VM, and it will be living on this box for now. We have to have an ESX host to get started with the VCSA appliance. It's another way to install VCSA on VMware Workstation, where you can run it from you can install it actually, or deploy it, if you will, from an OVA. But when we do it that way, it's just gonna create a VM on VMware Workstation, and that's going to limit our scalability and flexibility with the VCSA appliance. The way I'm doing it now, install ESX first and then install the VCSA on top of the ESX. That's the way it's done in production, so we're going to go with it that way. Alright, we have our DHCP server. Let me not forget this, but this now, I'm not going to set up DHCP on this server. I'm just going to use this server to set up FTP service so we can do backups to the vCenter plan. Alright, let's quickly take a look at what's going on this ESX VM that I created, right? So yes, I have memory at 24 gigs. We need a lot of memory because remember, this ESX VM will be hosting the VCSA appliance. And the VCSA appliance will need a lot of RAM, a lot of resources, RAM and CPU, depending on how much VMs you will be managing. Processors, that's good enough for now. Hard disk 5 gigs, that's good enough. This is just for the OS, for the hypervisor, for the ESX. And then we have our NICs. Right here we have 10 network cards. And if any of you work in a production environment with ESX, normally this is the case. We have 8, 10 or so on, and then we have them paired up for redundancy. If you don't have them paired up for redundancy, vCenter is going to complain and say, oh, we don't have any redundancy on this network. So these two, network 1, 2, which is on the VMnet 1, will be management network. Normally I would use, in a more advanced complex network, I would use the first 2 for management, the second 2 for vMotion, and then like 5, 6, the third 2 for storage. But for now, to remain, just for simplicity, I'm just going to do everything on a flat network. When we improve the environment and build out some more on the labs, then we'll start to split up the network, give storage its own network and so on, right? Okay, so this is it for the ESX VM on VMware Workstation. Now, I am going to ensure that, right, it's on VMnet 1, so this is the flat network that everything is on. Right now, storage is on VMnet 1, DC1, admin, everything I'm working with for now in tech bytes.home domain. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to install vSphere Hypervisor 7 onto ESX Server 1, ESX1 VM in VMware Workstation. So let's go ahead and mount our CD and get along with the installation. Okay, let me point out one more thing before we move on. Right now, we are doing what's called a nested virtualization. Because if you remember, looking at my network diagram here, this desktop here, right, is actually have VMware Workstation on it, and this is hosting everything, right? All these servers that you're seeing are on VMware Workstation. Then we have ESX1 that is going to host VCSA, and on VCSA we're going to use it's going to be the management central to manage these ESX hosts. On these ESX hosts, we have vCSA living there, right? And then we can also have other servers living on ESX hosts. So that's nested. When you think about ESX1 or ESX2 in this case, these are virtualized because they are on VMware Workstation. But in a production environment, these will be physical blades or physical servers. Then we would virtualize all the servers onto that physical server. So vCSA would be a VM onto the physical ESX. But in this case, where we are doing VMware Workstation in our home lab, everything is pretty much virtualized, so we're doing nested virtualization. Let's get this ESX hypervisor installation going. Alright, so we're in settings, we need to mount our CD, our ISO, right? So we're going to click on browse. Well, we click on CD DVD ID first, we click on browse, and then I had downloaded the ISO from broadcom.com, right? So we're doing VCSA all. Sorry, no. We're doing this is actually the vCenter ISO. What I need is this one, the Vmvisor installer, right? So this is the one to install the hypervisor for vSphere 7. So open this and then just hit OK. Now let's power on our ESX VM and see what happens. Alright, it's booting up. So just give it a few minutes, let this run through. Okay, we are ready. Let's resume. So I'm going to hit continue here as instructed. F11. Alright, it sees our 5 gig disks in VME. US, set the password. Alright, F11, install. Installation is very small, so it's pretty quick. Right, we are done. Hit enter to reboot. Before we reboot, I'm going to remove the ISO. So in this case, I can just turn it off. Then it reboots. Alright, we are good. Installation completed. So as you can see here, we have VMware ESXi 7.03. We have 8 cores, Ryzen of 16 core processor, 24 gigs of memory. You can see they said to manage this host, but for now we don't have any IP addresses or anything set up, so we need to go in and configure this host to be on the network. So I'm gonna hit F2 and put my password in. If I remember it. Alright, here we go. Alright, first things first. Configure management network adapters. I need these two for the management, 0 and 1. That's on the VMnet1 network. Enter. We don't need VLANs for in this case, but in a production environment you definitely will. IPv4. What is our IP? Let's check our network diagram real quick. Alright, so this one is gonna be 101. So 192.168.100.101. We have a class C for this. Don't have a gateway yet, but we can put that just in case. Don't want it to try going to the internet. IPv6, we disable this. I don't use that for now. DNS. What are our DNS servers? 100.10. We only have one for now. We did not set up the second domain yet. Our host name will be ESX1. And our DNS suffix, which is the domain, would be bytes.home. Enter. Then I'm gonna hit escape. Yes, to reboot. And then we are good to go. Once this reboots, the ESX should be on the network and we should be able to connect to it. Okay, so our ESX host has been rebooted and it is back up. So right now it's saying to manage this host, go to https ESX1 or the IP address. We're going to be doing that shortly. Right now we don't have a DNS name for this. That is important. Let's do that first thing, and then we can test and see if this host is actually on the network. So DNS manager on the DC, I'm going to go to tech bytes at home, right click, new host, ESX1, create a pointer record, IP address 192.168.100.101, and add host. Okay, done. This is our ESX. As a matter of fact, we can test it from here. It doesn't matter, right? CMD ping and we have a ping, so we are looking good. All right, let's go to my admin management workstation. I always call this a server, but this is a workstation. It's a Windows 10. Now we're going to put this IP in and see if we can reach. All right, so 192.168.100.101. I think I need to put, oh, there we go, looking good, man. Proceed. All right, here we go. We have our ESX host up and ready. credentials, root, and our password. I forgot my password again. Always doing that. All right, so we are in. Now we are on our ESX host, and remember, this would be similar to what you would have in a production network, which would be the physical blade, physical server, right? So currently we have no virtual machines, we have no storage, we have only we have a VM network that they created by default, but we working with the management network. So next step, what do we need to do at this point? We need some storage, and then we can proceed with installing our VCSA. All right, let's go over to our storage server. We are going to configure this server as a central storage hub. All right, let me just close this and start from scratch. So I'm going into server manager. Next thing, manage add roles. We need add. Okay, well, I did. Let me bring up back the network diagram. Don't want to jump too far ahead. So storage server is on the .50, right? 192.168.100.50. We have it here. The name of the server is storage SVR, right? Let's just check that. Yep, we are good. Quick IP config, we are good as well. All right, we are in server manager. We're adding a role, so we hit next. We scroll down, we're looking for file and server storage. We want the iSCSI target. At that one, hit next. I think that's all we need for now. We don't need anything else yet. Well, we are going to need the FTP, but we will get to that when we get to that. Next, install this. Just wait. All right, seems like installation completed, right? Let's give it a check. Okay, so we'll be using this as a storage server using iSCSI. When we hit file and storage services, we have our iSCSI here. This is where we're going to set up our iSCSI shared drives using initiators from ESXi host and from the storage server. Okay, so we need disks. Let's look at this settings we have here. All we have right now is just one hard drive, one disk, which is actually what the OS is installed on. So next step, we need to add some disk to this. So I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to add hard disk. Stick with SCSI for now. If I want to add NVMe, I can shut the machine down and then add it, and this would be enabled, but I don't want to shut it down right now, so let's just use SCSI. Next, create a new virtual disk. Next. All right, I need a 200 gig. This should be enough for VCSA, right? I'm not gonna allocate, I'm gonna let it be thin provision and grow as needed. Next. All right, this is where I need to store my storage disks. Call it storage. Oh, that's how I spell storage, right? All right, in storage, let's create another folder and call it ESX. Let's call it ESX Lons. This one that I'm doing now will be for a data store, so I'm going to call this ESX-DB001. Save this and then finish. All right, now we have our storage. Okay, So this now should pop up with 2 disks. So here we go, we have both our disks now. Volumes, recovery, let's rescan. Alright, so we have our disk now, we need to create a volume. Alright, so it's currently offline, so I'm gonna bring it online. Say yes to that, and then I need to create a volume. I think I need to initialize it first, yes. So initialize at GPT. Then new volume. I'm gonna hit next. I'm gonna hit 200 gigs, next again. Use all 200 gigs, next. I need to give it a drive letter. I'm gonna call it, yeah, put it on E, that's fine, I don't care. Next. Alright, ESX dash TB001. Next, create. Alright, this is our volume. So if we go here, we should see our volume, right? This is blank and empty. Not a SCSI drive yet. Not a iSCSI, I should say. Not a iSCSI drive yet where we can use it as a shared drives or as a LUN, anything we need to do, right? Okay, next thing, we are going to go down to volumes, right click, new iSCSI virtual disk. E drive 200 gigs, hit next. Alright, the name for this now, I'm gonna call this iSCSI dash ESX DB001. I'm gonna do this. Next again. I can put a description for one. Okay, next 200 gigs. Alright, we want to leave it at dynamically expanding because when we do this now, if we run out of space, we can always extend from here. If we run out of space, we can extend from here, but we have to shut it down first, right? And then resize it here and increase the data store from the ESXi side. So we leave it at dynamically expanding. Next, we need a new SCSI target. We have none. If we had an existing one, we could always choose it. But I like to choose new iSCSI target for each what would I say now, each environment. So for all the ESX hosts that I would have one iSCSI target. If I had SQL clusters, I would have another iSCSI target. If I had file shares, and so on and so forth. Next, I'm gonna paste this that I copied. I wanna call this target so I can know the difference. Next again. Alright, this is where we have to specify our iSCSI initiators. And in this case, I'm gonna use not a IQN, I'm gonna use not a DNS name nor a MAC address. The simplest thing is an IP address. And the IP address, so it would be the client IP address, in this case would be the ESX host, which is 192.168.100.101. Add that. That's the only one we got for now. Alright, hit next. We don't need to enable any of that for now. Next again, create. Close. Alright, that's it for our storage setup. We don't need to do anything else. We have an iSCSI drive. If we click here now, this is it. Next thing we would need to do, actually, we will need, where is it? Not that one. It is this right here, the IQN number to connect from the ESX side. So you're going over to the ESX server now to set up the storage. Alright, so back on the ESX host, we're actually on the admin box connected to the ESX host here. We need to set up or configure this host now to accept storage, right? To connect to the storage server that we just set up. Alright, so let's take a look at storage and then adapters. Right, what we need here is we don't have a physical adapter. Remember, this is a virtual machine, so we need a software iSCSI adapter. So this is the one we're going to use. Enable this one, save configuration. Alright, actually we need to add the target now, right, before we hit save. Alright, remember I did say we will need the IQN number for the target that we set up. So back onto the storage server, we're going to click onto the disks that we need. We only need target in this case, properties, so the IQN for the target, right? iSCSI ESX DB201-target. I'm going to copy this, go back over to admin management, and then I'm going to add a static target. Click to add name, paste that IP address of the storage server at 50, I think it is, right? Save. Alright, let's give this a refresh, and we have our iSCSI software adapter here. Says it's online. Now let's give it a rescan, and then the next thing we're going to look at devices, and just like that, magic, we have our LUN. So this right now is a LUN connected to the ESX server, right? If you go here, properties again, you should have a LUN number. Nah, that's the target, this one. Right, so this is LUN logical unit number, LUN number 0. We can change this, but I mean, we don't need to, right? Everything works as default. What's the next thing now? Back here, okay, so we need to create our data store. So now we're gonna say new data store here and give it the name. We call it ESX DB001. Next, use full disk VMFS6, which is the latest option we have. So let's do that one. Next, finish. The entire content will be erased. Yes. Alright, we hit finish. The VMFS data store successfully created. Alright, let's go to data stores. Now we have storage on our ESX, which is absolutely brilliant. Now we can install our vCSA appliance. Okay, let's proceed with the vCSA installation. So we're on our management workstation here. We're logged into ESX1, our database created. Now we need to mount the ISO. We need to mount the ISO on this workstation, admin management. We need vCSA, let's use this one. Okay. Alright, the drive is mounted. Mounted our ISO to D drive. Open this one. Okay. UI installer, Win32 installer. Open this. Alright, so we'll be doing a new installation. The next step to upgrade to version 8, we'll be doing an upgrade. If you want to migrate it, use this option, or restore it from a backup, use this one. Alright, so we're going with new option, install, stage 1. This is a 2-stage process. So we need to enter the required information here. Just click next and accept the user agreement. The ESXi host a vCenter name. We don't have a vCenter yet. We have an ESXi host, which is ESX1. Or we could put the IP address. So full domain name FQDN. All right. We can just test this to make sure it works. Here we go. And we're good. Root to log into the Esx. Password. Okay, didn't forget it this time. All right, looking good. Specify the VM settings for the vCenter. So this is what the vCenter would be called. What should I call it? VC. All right, I'm calling it VC7 Home. Okay, I'm calling it VC7 Home Lab. Set a password. Okay, this is where we choose the size of our deployment that we need. So tiny, 2 CPUs, 12 gig of RAM, storage 579 gigs, 10 hosts, up to 100 VMs. For this home lab, I don't think I'm going to do more than this. Absolutely not. Let's go with tiny. I don't think we're going to need more than 10 hosts, to be honest. Alright, so enable thin disk mode. This is thin provision, which means the disk will consume the space as the data grows. Next. Alright, so VM network, IP version 4 static, IP assignment, we have FQDN optional. Did we create a DNS for this one? Let's check. No, we did not. So let's create a DNS for the vCenter. EC7 Home Lab. What was the IP for this one? Check that real quick. Oh, that's 70. Okay, I had 71. So that 70 is it. IP. Let's add this DNS. Okay, so do that. IP address. Select that 100.70. Submit mask. Don't have a gateway yet, but we can put it just in case. We will have a gateway eventually. DNS 100.10, and that should be it. Next, this is our summary of the settings. Looks good. And finish. Alright, this will take a few minutes to finish, so I'm just gonna skip you the boringness of watching paint dry. I'll speed it up. I'll be back with you when it's done. Alright, there we have it. Our vCenter installation for stage 1 is completed. Let's hit continue, or we could just browse to this URL right here, right? So let's continue and see what we get. Okay, now it's asking for stage 2. This is where I'm gonna stop the video for now. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and please subscribe. Also share this video to anyone that you think may be interested. Remember, we have a lot more coming. In the next video to follow up on this one, we are going to install vCenter 8, upgrade this vCenter 7 to vCenter 8. So until next time, bless up. I'm out.